It was supposed to be a high-profile conversation about mental health, redemption, and media responsibility. When Prince Harry was booked as a guest on The View, expectations were high. The producers anticipated a thoughtful, measured dialogue between the Duke and the ever-opinionated panel, but no one expected the wild-card addition of Howard Stern to the guest couch. Brought in under the banner of alternative perspectives, Stern had his own agendas. Subtle was never his style. The tension began simmering during the introductions, when Joy Behar jokingly asked Howard if he'd behave. He replied, "Only if your prince tells the truth." That one comment sent a visible jolt through the studio. Harry, smiling tightly, responded that he was there to talk openly, but Stern wasn't done. "You mean like you did with Oprah? Or Netflix? Or every time you needed to sell something?" The audience laughed nervously, unsure if this was scripted. It wasn't. Harry initially kept calm, insisting he wasn't there to spar, but to shed light on trauma, especially the trauma of being chased by media since childhood. Stern cut in sharply, "You mean the same media you're selling your trauma to for $25 million a pop?" Whoopi Goldberg tried to redirect the conversation to less volatile topics, but the moment had passed. Meghan's name came up fast. "How's your wife doing?" Stern asked, "Still journaling for Netflix? Or has she moved on to reading bedtime stories for billionaires?" Harry's face stiffened. "That's unnecessary," he replied. "She's focused on our children and causes we care about." Stern didn't blink. "Right. Between the podcast, the book, the documentary, and whatever you're pitching next, you two are so private, you make the Kardashians look mysterious." A few audience members clapped. The segment producers motioned to cut to commercial, but the clash was live and burning. Joy Behar attempted to smooth things over, shifting the question toward Harry's Invictus work. "Let's talk about the veterans you support," she offered, but the tension was too thick. Harry launched into a passionate defense of his nonprofit work. The wounded soldiers he'd stood beside, the nights in combat zones where purpose had outweighed privilege. Stern let him talk for a moment. Then came the dagger. "And yet, here you are again, not in Kabul, not at a hospital, but on a talk show, next to me, trying to explain why being famous is hard. Do you not see the irony?" The silence that followed was brutal. Harry took a breath and said, "I'm using my platform to bring light to issues that matter." Stern shot back, "Your platform exists because of the very institution you spent years attacking. That's not light, that's spotlight." The show's live audience was in chaos. Some people cheered Stern's directness, others booed. Meghan's fans online instantly began trending hashtag Howard Stern is a BUL lie, while traditionalists defended him for calling out hypocrisy. But inside the studio, Harry had gone from composed royal to visibly shaken. "You're not here to have a conversation," he said, his voice tense. "You're here to provoke and humiliate." Stern raised an eyebrow. "No, I'm here to challenge you. Because the truth doesn't get filtered through palace PR anymore. This is the real world." Joy stepped in again, desperate to steer the show back on track. But the energy had shifted permanently. Prince Harry looked off stage, toward his handler, then to the floor manager. The conversation was over for him. "I think we're done here," Harry muttered, removing his mic and standing. Whoopi's eyes widened. "We're live," she whispered, but he was already walking. The camera struggled to keep up as the Duke of Sussex exited stage left, escorted by his visibly alarmed publicist. Stern leaned back in his chair, unfazed, and looked straight into the camera. That's what happens when the crown meets reality. It was the kind of line that would be played on every news outlet within hours. The View's control room was in meltdown. Producers screamed instructions, trying to salvage the next segment, but nothing could undo what just aired. The internet had its moment. Clips were cut, memes were made, and the debate exploded. Had Stern gone too far, or had Harry finally met someone who wasn't afraid to call his bluff? Within the hour, the media circus was in full swing. TMZ ran the headline, "Prince storms off Howard, holds the throne." UK tabloids had a field day. Stern slays the spare, while American talk radio split into factions. Conservative pundits praised Howard's unapologetic questioning. Liberal commentators accused him of sabotaging a necessary discussion about mental health. Meghan released a statement through her rep, calling the exchange a brutal display of mockery disguised as dialogue. Harry himself went silent, refusing all post-show interviews. ABC, meanwhile, scrambled to manage fallout while enjoying record-breaking viewership numbers. The full segment was posted to YouTube by ABC within 2 hours, edited lightly. But the damage, or to some, the truth, was already out. Asterisk back in Montecito. Sources close to the Sussexes revealed Harry was rattled and deeply frustrated by what had transpired. He reportedly told friends he'd never appear on unscripted American television again. Meghan, livid, contacted their legal team to review if any grounds for defamation or manipulation could be explored, but The View had waivers and the footage was real. What stung most wasn't Howard's accusations, was the realization that a large portion of the public had nodded along with them. The image of Harry, once the most beloved royal, had shifted. He was no longer the brave truth-teller escaping a toxic monarchy. To some, he now appeared just as manufactured, just as calculating, as those he'd escaped from. Asterisk Howard Stern, unsurprisingly, had no regrets. The next morning on his radio show, he addressed the incident directly. "Look, I respect trauma. I've lived through mine. But if you're going to monetize your pain, don't be shocked when someone asks how much it's really worth." The segment went viral again. Stern gained a wave of unlikely supporters, young viewers who had grown skeptical of celebrity therapy, and older audiences tired of royal drama. Analysts called it a generational flashpoint, a clash between curated vulnerability and raw cynicism. Whatever it was, it had changed something. Not just for Harry, but for every celebrity trying to walk the line between confession and performance. The mask had slipped hand. The world had seen the face underneath. Backstage at the studio, chaos reigned. Staffers whispered as Harry was escorted quickly down the hall by his aide, his jaw clenched and eyes hard. One producer dared to ask if he'd reconsider returning after the break. Harry didn't even respond. Meghan was reportedly already on the phone, voice raised, demanding to know how The View had allowed a shock jock with a vendetta to sit beside her husband. Meanwhile, on the main stage, the show limped on. Whoopi tried to shift gears into the next segment, a wellness expert promoting a meditation app, but the energy was shattered. Viewers at home weren't listening to breathing techniques. They were rewinding the moment Prince Harry took off his mic and walked out. Within 20 minutes, the hashtag Howard vs. Harry was trending globally. The video racked up millions of views. Clips were dissected by body language experts and YouTubers alike. Howard Stern, for his part, was entirely unfazed. During the next segment, he sipped his coffee, occasionally throwing sideways glances at the co-hosts, all of whom now seemed rattled. After the commercial break, he leaned into the camera again and said, "If someone can't handle questions, maybe they should stick to scripted interviews." That comment triggered another wave of reactions online. Some accused Stern of bullying a man who had opened up about losing his mother and battling PTSD. Others praised him as the last real interviewer who refused to coddle celebrity narratives. Joy Behar, clearly uncomfortable, tried to pivot. Again, this time asking Stern if he regretted how the conversation had unfolded. His answer, "Regret is for people who think they lied." The tension was so thick, even the studio claps felt half-hearted. Back in Montecito, the fallout turned into a firestorm. Paparazzi staked out the Sussex estate, hoping for a photo of Harry or Meghan. PR insiders confirmed that major morning shows CBS Mornings, Today, even 60 Minutes reached out within hours, offering Harry a chance to clarify or respond. But the Sussex camp went quiet. A carefully worded statement appeared 2 days later through ArcUL's site, stating that while Prince Harry remains committed to open dialogue, he will not participate in platforms that allow mockery of trauma for ratings. Critics immediately pointed out the irony, citing Harry's own Netflix series and his raw memoir Spare as examples of monetized trauma. The court of public opinion was now deeply divided, and the Sussex brand was under more scrutiny than ever. Meanwhile, inside ABC, execs were both celebrating and scrambling. The clash had pulled in record views, but it also triggered a storm of complaints. Mental health advocacy groups criticized The View for ambushing a guest with hostile commentary. Royalists accused Stern of American arrogance. but numbers didn't. Letha's segment had shattered streaming records. Ratings for the week soared. Internally, the network began considering